Yeah, I've only wondered, I haven't been making a video since, like, in a month, so I'm back, and I'm gonna talk on one topic in particular. Directioners. That's right, people. I'm talking about the One Direction fandom, which, in my opinion, has got to be one of the most toxic and unholy fandoms to ever exist. And before anyone types in the comments and say that I'm an awful person and that I'm clearly jealous of them, I have to clarify that I'm not hating on One Direction. I'm I'm specific. I'm especially so, so, I'm only talking about their fandom. So I'm just gonna get it out of the way first. There's gonna be some swearing, and yeah, I might tell you to you guys to cover your ears because this is gonna get bumpy. So the One Direction fandom is quite interesting because ever since One Direction became famous, many of these fans began to spread so everywhere online, and well, let's just say the entirety of social media. I mean, MySpace, everywhere on MySpace, Facebook, Twitter, DeviantArt, Instagram, and everywhere, and well, let's just say it hasn't had a positive impact. And one of the main creative criticisms that I have of this fandom is that most of them are teenage girls. Now that isn't a problem necessarily, because each fandom can have teenage girls, but the main problem is that people that teenage girls are stupid. Because they usually do dumb things and they're not very smart, and their linoleum is very advanced by attractive boys. So that's not a negative per se, but you get the point. And a point that I have to criticize about them is that they harass people who hate on One Direction. And yes, many of them harass people who hate on One Direction, yeah. Because if you look at Spectral Pulse's review on Midnight Memories, he gave it a negative review, and the comments section was filled to the brim with teenage girls bashing on him and critiquing him and saying he's an awful person, and bashing on his review, saying that he's jealous and that he doesn't understand One Direction, that his points are invalid, without even watching the review. And basically, that it's clear that they're the ones that are hurting his feelings. Because clearly most of them were just white bashing on him without even knowing how he critiqued it or what his points mean. Because, again, One Direction aren't perfect. And another thing I have a problem with them is that whenever someone compares One Direction to another band, they go all mental. Because, because there was this controversy that Best Song Ever stole a riff from Baba O'Reilly. And the One Directioners decided to attack The Who for making Baba O'Reilly, saying that that song ripped off Best Song Ever, without even researching any of it. Baba O'Reilly came out in 1971. Best Song Ever came out in 2013. And this argument and this harassment was made pointless because Pete Houston said he liked One Direction, so there was no point for them to harass him. And another complaint I have is that they literally cannot handle any form of criticism, because if someone criticizes them for disrespectful behavior, then they'll go on to attack on them and just treat them like they're the enemy, when really they're the ones who are treating them poorly. And another thing I have a problem with these guys is that, like, they get disrespectful if someone... They completely disrespected the death of... They completely disrespected... They disrespected the talent of Zayn, because, you know, Zayn... They did nothing but hurt his feelings. I mean, Zayn didn't even want to be in a band, yet he was forced to. And yet these fangirls began stalking him and doing weird, creepy things with him. And I do feel for him. I do feel bad for him. And they even did the same thing with Niall, because they berated his family member's wedding. Yes, they did that. They completely did it just to stalk him and have sex with him. And this gets worse when you realise that when Sheryl Crow and Liam Payne married each other, the internet began to harass Sheryl. Because Cheryl, because they think she doesn't deserve to be with him, and that they think they deserve to be with him, and that they think that they should have married Liam Payne, and that they went all mental over him marrying someone else. And I think it's clearly disrespectful of the Directioners, because, again, why do that? Another problem I have with this fandom is that they make tons of weird fan fiction about them having sex with One Direction, and it's just creepy. And they also apparently stalk all the band members, and, well, they even harassed other bands for criticising them. And if you think about it, when Midnight Memories got a mixed review on Metacritic, these fans tried to got all whiny about it and just complain that it should have a positive review, you're so jealous, and all of that. And this is what my problem is, that they refuse to move on, because the band has gone on their solo careers, and yet many of them keep claiming that One Direction should reunite, that they should reunite, they shouldn't go on solo careers, and that they keep disrespecting those who prefer the band to be in solo careers, and they constantly make rumours about One Direction reuniting, and all these false and fake rumours. Like, there was even one time that One Direction would have reunited with James Corden, and that was actually a rumour. They weren't actually going to reunite. It was something that stupid fangirls kept making. It was just them making stupid rumours, and that's it. And if you want to know what the biggest problem with the Directioners is that they can't move on. The band has split up, and yet they still can't move on. They still won't accept the fact that Zayn has moved on. They won't accept the fact that Harry has moved on, and yet they still keep harassing them, still keep stalking them, and wish and constantly claim them to be back in One Direction. Face it, guys, you're the reason why One Direction split up in the first place. You're the one who kept doing his toxic and inappropriate behaviour, and you kept doing this. And you're the same guys who got impatient visiting their line and see the One Direction move. Like, you guys kept pushing others, kept being disrespectful to others, and you did nothing but harass them. And, by the way, I used to like One Direction in the past. When I was a kid, I used to love them, but nowadays, I've grown out of them. And it's a shame that these Directioners can't keep obsessing over the fact that the band is split up. And they have flame wars with other boy band fandoms like the Army, where they keep harassing them and having flame wars with them. And it's also the thing that break the camel's back is that they do nothing but harass their girlfriends. Like, they keep harassing their girlfriends because they feel like they don't deserve to be with their boys and that they think the boy band should be with them. And really, it's just awful behaviour. And really, they also refuse to acknowledge One Direction's flaws. Like, they keep treating them like if they're gods. They think that every other band is worse than One Direction. Like, they think that every song One Direction covered is a rip off the One Direction version. And really, that's stupid. And one of the things that pisses me off even more is that most of them don't get their comeuppance. I mean, they refuse to acknowledge that the band were completely selfish back then, and they refuse to acknowledge that they were jerks and that the music itself was awful. Like, seriously though, Steal My Girl is just a creepy song, and well, they made awful songs about stealing people's girls and cheating on other people, and well, clearly it's music made by producers, and that's the thing. The pop music fandom is the most toxic music fandom in the world, because they treat pop music as the greatest form of music of all time and bash on every other pieces of music and worship their artists and worship everything. I keep making memes about them, I keep mucking over music genres and disrespect though, and keep clamouring for more pop music. Because let's face it, the music fandom nowadays is filled with teenage girls who don't know anything about the rich history of music and only listen to music because it's cool and popular, and that's it. And most of these fangirls only like One Direction because they were popular, and they only like them for their looks and their looks only, and that's it. They don't listen to the music, they just like them because they look pretty, and that's it. And another thing I have a problem with the Directioners is that they always have to ruin things for others. And I mean, Spectrum Pulse got harassed by Directioners because he said he didn't like One Direction. Yet he was more positive on before and Made than I am, yeah. And yet they still harassed him, and they still doxed him, and they still harassed him. They still send nasty messages to him, and they still won't move on. They're easily one of those toxic fandoms in the history of the internet. And they even claim that they're not toxic. They defend themselves and they think they're not toxic, even though most of their bad behavior proves that they are toxic and that they should never be trusted. Even if you like One Direction and you're respectful for it, they will still bash on you and say you're jealous. And that they are very impatient, they are very whiny, they won't move on, and therefore are just woman children. They're woman children, and they're nothing but whiny, arrogant, and selfish. And this is the thing with teenage girls. They never move on from anything. And well, let's just say that I think me moving on from One Direction was the best thing I've ever done, because apparently most of these directioners are so toxic and so arrogant to the flaws of One Direction that they'll never move on, and that they'll always harass you and they'll always stalk you, and therefore they're all awful, they're evil, and one of the most toxic fandoms of all time. So that was my rant on the directioners, and well, yeah, most of my rant was pretty mature, but it's just what I do, yeah. So I'm gonna see you guys pretty soon or next month, I don't know, yeah. So I'll see you probably in December, but by then I won't even be making any videos because it's Christmas season, it's winter. And I have a pretty awful throat, and so I've been rambling on for this video, and well, I'm in respite and I have to have my tea in time, so yeah, I'll see you guys later.